Hey guys, happy Tuesday. It's the week after Christmas and I'm going to show you what my day looks like today. I am headed off to work and it's going to be a little bit insane. I worked yesterday. Yesterday was like a holiday, Christmas observed. So we just focused on new consults, and then today is the first day back of seeing my patients and my caseload since Friday. So 3 days not seeing my patients, not having access to radiology for swallow studies. It's gonna be a day. But I'm gonna head out because I'm actually late, and let's get this day done.
You know you live in Florida when it's 40 degrees outside and you're decked out in this winter coat. Here we go, I'll show you. Okay. I've got like a 5-minute walk from my parking garage. Well, once I park my car at my parking garage to the building. And so we're bundling up because it's so cold outside. It's too cold. So my whole life is changing this week. And that might be a little bit dramatic, but if you have watched any of my like OG vlogs, I would wake up at like 5. Well, I would go to the gym at 5 in the morning to go do CrossFit, and I was like full on the CrossFit grind. I'm actually now training for a half Ironman. And this week is the first week that I'm adjusting my schedule. So instead of waking up at like 4:30 every morning, I'm now waking up at 6:30 so I can go to bed later. So I have the whole evening after work to work out. Just with the distance of my training schedule, I'm not gonna have enough time to do all of that before work. So instead, I'm switching everything up. And so it's been an adjustment. At least the last couple times I have just woken up, had some coffee, read my Bible, and got to work. And it's been a huge adjustment for my body and my mind to not be working out before work. But I'm just telling myself it's gonna be okay and it's what I need to do. But I just decided I really needed a new goal outside of work, and I love CrossFit, and I'm excited to go back to CrossFit once I'm done with this journey of an Ironman, half Ironman. But I think having new goals outside of work is huge, and this is just something I've always wanted to do in my life, and now I'm finally taking the time to do it. So changing my life is very dramatic, but for someone who's single, like not married, my boyfriend doesn't live in this town, for someone who is not married, doesn't have kids, I feel like changing my sleep schedule is like absolutely huge, and especially if you know me, I'm very strict on my sleep schedule, so it's crazy town USA for me right now. Okay, so these are the items that I brought in for my
first new consult for the day. So whenever I go see patients, I always bring ice and water. I separate them because I typically do an ice trip trial first, and then I do water, and I'll mix the water with the ice if they want ice water after I do the ice trip trials. But just having them separated gives like a true ice chip versus like melted down ice, or a weird mixed consistency of ice with water. I then also bring applesauce and a graham cracker. Now, I don't always use those for patients, so typically when I bring those into a room, I either keep them in my pocket or kind of off to the side where a patient can't see in case that we don't get to those trials. It eliminates an awkward situation of the patient inquiring why I didn't use applesauce or graham cracker, or that they want it. And if I have concerns that that might not be safe for them at that time, just setting it off to the side or keeping it in my pocket so they can't see it eliminates that awkward conversation or interaction. And then I also, of course, bring a spoon and a straw because you got to give them the options, the food somehow. All right, so I also had a new PMV passing mirror valve consult today for swallow and for communication. So to the left, you see my ice, you see my water. In the middle, you see the new PMV packet. And then behind that, I brought some oral care. Pro tip is that if you're not positive there's oral care in the room, always just grab a couple before you go in. So that's eliminating the time spent going in and out of the patient's room. So I grabbed those items, I head into the room, and I started my evaluation for PMV and for swallow. Typically in these situations, I evaluate first for the PMV because I want to see if the patient is a good candidate for wearing it. And then if I've deemed that they have been appropriate for an X amount of time or a great candidate for it, then I will do swallowing trials with the PMV on. So that's the protocol that we proceed with PMV trials in our hospital. Hey guys, it is the next day. I had a weird night. I finished running and then I biked a little bit, and I'm getting used to this whole staying up later thing. So I was just in kind of a weird mood. So I was like, I'm gonna call it quits on the vlog and just recap tomorrow morning. But my day at work, as you saw, I worked with some trach patients. I didn't know if I said this in the morning, but I am covering the neuro ICU instead of my typical medical ICU. Because our Neuro ICU SLP is out on vacation for like 2.5 weeks. So I get the blessing of working there. I have grown to appreciate the Neuro ICU. I used to hate it, and not really necessarily the patients, but more their staffing approaches care a little bit differently than what I'm used to. And I don't necessarily think it's all bad. It's just because I'm not used to it. I'm always like, whenever I have to help out, I'm like, don't give me it. But I've really appreciated the last week and a half because it's growing my opinion of being able to understand their approach of care better. So that's been good. But my day of work was nothing super crazy. I am really adjusting to this population. I think neuro is really interesting because you're getting a lot of stroke patients, obviously. And with stroke, you get a lot more language involvement depending on where the brain's getting impacted, versus my medical ICU patients, I barely work with language with them. So it's been great to work with both like swallow and language when I'm in a session, and be able to assess on the spot whether or not I need to do a language eval, or what kind of areas of language I need to address while I'm working with them. Another interesting part about working with neuro patients is that you're going to get a lot of more TBI versus your medical patients. So post-craniectomies, if they have a subdural hematoma or subarachnoid hemorrhage, those can result in TBI-like qualities or TBI. So I have a patient right now that had both a subarachnoid, a subdural, and with contusions. Well, I can't speak this morning. And so I'm doing swallow, language, and TBI management with him, and I'm in there for God knows how long every time. But it's been good. I wanted to recap on something I haven't talked about yet, is how I chart review for patients in the mornings. I obviously can't, and like how I lay out my page, when my like, I don't know, my sheet of paper. I carry around the sheet of paper that has all my patients' names and has different columns of information, and I add different columns of information in. I obviously can't use an actual patient, so I'm going to use myself for a patient, or maybe just like John Doe. I don't know. But I'm going to show you guys that. So, okay, so the first time I did this, I wasn't reading my headers, because once again, this is all filled out for me before I get it. So this first column, I have my room and my bed for the patient. So let's say they are on, I don't know, the 11th floor, 4th unit, 35th bed, and it's an A bed, the first bed. So that's what that's going to look like. If it's a new consult, it'll have this little doodad. So ours prints, it looks like a piece of paper with a check mark. So that gets printed into here. So I'm like, oh, new consult. This is a priority patient for me to see today. New consult. Patient name, John Smith. What's the next box? Age and gender. So how old is John? Let's say he's 62 and he's a male. SLP frequency. This is a tab that we use to say like how often we're seeing our patients each week. So are we seeing these patients once, twice? If it's new consult, which this one is, nothing's going to be in that tab. I fill in that tab once I start working with the patient. Diet orders. So are they NPO, nothing per mouth? Are they regular, solid, thin, liquid? Are they puree, honey, thick liquid, full liquid? These are the orders that the doctor has that the patient's currently getting. So what kind of diet, what kind of food are they currently getting? The next tab that mine prints out is services. So what service are they on? Are they on, I don't know, transplant? Maybe this patient's a transplant patient for like liver or something. The problem, liver, probably spelled that wrong. Liver cirrhosis. Infection. Do they have any kind of infection? So is it COVID? Is it, I don't know, the flu? I don't know. MRSA. Whatever their contact precautions are, that's kind of what that infection. And then this blank column gives me an opportunity to write in any kind of information that I want to put in the on my piece of paper for my patient. So what I used to do is I used to do my chart review and fill in this little box for like my chart review information. What I now do is when I get a new consult, I will write like on the back of the paper, John Smith, for an example, and then I'll fill out their new consult information in this little area so that I don't have to log back onto the computer to read their new consult information. If I have like 8 new consults, then it's easier to remember what exactly they were here for. What does their hospital course look like? So then I end up using this blank column either for notes for their session Or for follow-ups, like let's say this patient has an EGD today, and this is Bob Miller. If Bob Miller has an EGD today, then I know I am not going to see him today because I can't feed him when he has an EGD, because he's going to not have that diet in. He's going to be MPO for his EGD. So I use this blank column for notes that on my patients on the list. I also use it for like notes when I'm in therapy. Like let's say I'm seeing this patient for swallow therapy. I did 10 effortful swallows with ice chips. And then we did EMST for 5 reps, the 5 reps situation. So that's what I kind of use that blank column for, kind of like a catch-all, notes for that patient that have happened overnight or notes from that day. And then I prioritize more space on my back of my paper for new consults, chart review information. So that's kind of what my chart looks like. Like I said, you can change in our EMR. You could change all of these tabs. So these are the tabs that I've chosen that I think is important for my patients, information that's beneficial without like over cluttering my paper. Obviously, I want the new room number and their name. New SOP orders just helps me prioritize and figure out what patients I need to see first. And then the other information is just information I would have written down, but it saves me time from writing it down because I have the computer pre-prints it. So that's exactly how I kind of take my list, and I take this list with me throughout the whole day. Typically I have 2 or 3 sheets of patients per list, or of these lists hanging out with me. And that's it for the vlog. A little bit of a day in the life, a little bit of education. It's what you're getting from me while I'm going through my quarter life crisis of switching things up and going to bed late, which is weird because it's a normal time for other people, but it's totally just driving me crazy. Especially in this mornings, it's been like an adjustment, not going to the gym and then just going to work, and like, what is life? Normally I'm up for like 4 hours before I start work, and now it's like an hour. But I have to head to work today. It's Wednesday. Wednesday, hump day. I actually have Friday off this week, so it's kind of my Friday Eve, which is exciting. Yay! I appreciate you guys watching. I have gotten a lot of comments on like my opinion of grad school and UF's grad school, which I loved. I'm so glad I went there. And some other comments about my job and how much I get paid. So I'm gonna look into those comments and see if I could just do like a quick Q&A answer type thing. But stay tuned for that. Hope you guys enjoyed this vlog, and I'll see you next time.